welcome to All Faith Sunday service. Today is Sunday, September 27th, and I'm the Rev CJ McGregor, and I serve this congregation as its minister and will lead the service this morning. I have some announcements. 11:30 this morning, we will have our Zoom coffee hour. Check your email for that address. It'll be a time to meet with our staff after the service. On Tuesday, September 29th at 1 o'clock, we will have Teaching Tuesday, which is on Zoom. I've invited Chantel Rhodes from Peaceful Protest of Lee County to join us that day. So this Tuesday at 1 o'clock, Teaching Tuesday, check your email. Regina will send out an email to tell you how to join. On Saturday, October 3rd, the ACMA will be having a concert at 7 p.m. with local artist David Heinz. He's a popular local artist, so please check out the ACMA Facebook page and get more information. Here at All Faiths, you will find a diverse and inclusive spiritual community where we welcome people and we welcome many beliefs. You can bring your whole self, your full identity, your questioning mind, and expansive heart. At All Faiths, we have more than one way of experiencing the world and experiencing the sacred. No matter who you are, wherever you are on your spiritual journey, and no matter whom you love, you are always welcome here at All Faiths. Please join in hymn number 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. Please join in the words printed in your order of service as I light our chalice. We light our chalice to illuminate the world we seek. In our search for truth, may we be just. In our search for justice, may we be loving. And in loving, may we find peace. When we are together, we share our joys and sorrows with the congregation. While we are apart, we still have the opportunity to do that. If you'd like to share a joy and sorrow with the congregation, you can send it to me you can call me, send it by email or text, and I'll be sure to offer it on Sunday. This morning, we hold in our hearts all the joys and sorrows that are unspoken. Now it's time for our children to participate in their Zoom, their online youth religious education class with Mary Corrigan as we sing Go Now in Peace, and you'll have an opportunity to say hello to our children.
Everywhere you may go.
Let us join in a few moments of silence. This morning, let us move away from the noise around us, away from the noise of the crowds. We come here to rest for one moment in this place set apart from the never-ending to-do lists, embracing the seventh day of rest. We come to the warmth and we come to the stillness of this sacred hour together. Remember that you have chosen to be here. Something in your life led you to arrive here this morning, now. Whatever tasks and cares await you now for this brief time, simply rest and allow your soul to be nurtured. Let the waves in your mind and in your heart gradually subside. As you come home to yourself holy and whole, come and let us rest and be together. It is good to be together.
There is a balm
Our reading this morning is titled Speaking the Language of the Living Tradition by Elizabeth Ketchum. She writes, I grew up as a heavily committed eldest child of an American Baptist minister in the 1950s. Committed, that is, to self-preservation, staying out of trouble with our small town and family and having fun with safe parameters, namely church activities. I never felt quite committed to doctrine, never totally bought the idea of a virgin birth or resurrection or miracles or the Trinity or other supernatural religious concepts. Though I never openly admitted this either, it seemed to me that it didn't matter much whether these things really happened or not. Wasn't the whole point of Christianity the teachings of Jesus? Wasn't that the miracle? So I faked it a bit, talked a good game, gave the impression of a devout young woman, all because I loved my parents and siblings dearly, and they seemed to believe in this stuff. I never revealed to them my own questions because I didn't want to be separated from my family. I could see that they really were devoted to the teachings of Jesus, not just the trappings, and that was the important thing to me. What this created in my life was an interesting blend of preferences and problems. I avoided language which talked about saving souls or conversion of a bloody sacrifice or subservience, ideas which really didn't seem to resonate with the teachings of Jesus. During a stint as an American Baptist home missionary in Denver, I began to feel strongly that saving souls meant providing after-school activities for kids, a food bank, health care, job opportunities, friendship, and acceptance. Conversion for me wasn't a blinding experience on the road to Damascus, but a gradual understanding of what I believed and was willing to commit to. Bloody sacrifice seemed as senseless as the war in Vietnam, which was itself a bloody sacrifice of young men, some of them my friends. Subservience, well, resentment by the subservient seemed to be its outcome. As a Unitarian Universalist, first a layperson and now a minister, I often choose metaphors to express my ideas of God. I love Brian Wren's hymn, Bring Many Names, in Singing the Living Tradition, number 23, with its loving metaphors. God as mother, as father, aging, young, living being. But I don't always use human metaphors for God. For me, God is cosmos, nature, universe, power beyond human power. And for me, Trinity is too few manifestations of the divine. Attending a United Methodist seminary gave me a chance to improve my skills in translating. For I had decided by then that a Unitarian Universalist needs to be religiously bilingual, that is, able to speak religious language freely, understanding others whose dialect or language is somewhat different, accepting of differences, not needing to hear only you-you-ease. If we are a pluralistic faith, we need to be pluralistic in our understandings and acceptance and capabilities. I remember when my best childhood friend told me that she used to think God's name was Andy because of the old hymn we often sing in church. Andy walks with me, Andy talks with me, and Andy tells me I am his own. And small children have been known to intone, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. And I like that. My buddy Andy shares his garden with me, the garden of the universe of cats and eagles and flowers and trees, though my Father who art in heaven is named Merritt, and it's okay if someone else's is Howard. And so ends the reading. Please join in singing hymn number 23, Bring Many Names. The words are printed at the bottom of your order of service. Over the past 8 weeks, we have presented our Unitarian Universalists' 7 principles and a proposed 8th principle. But why? Was it because the minister was away and we needed to do something to fill in the gaps? Not at all, actually. When we planned to implement this series of messages, we wanted our people, our members of our congregation and our friends and others to talk about how each principle informs their living. And we got just that, and each week as I was watching the service, I was glad to hear how each presenter gave real life examples of that particular principle in action and why the principle is important in our lives. Unitarian Universalist theologian James Luther Adams once wrote that we can tell somebody's theology by what they're doing and how they're living. And that is, if we watch someone's way in the world and with others, we can observe their beliefs. This is what it is like living a UU life. Ours is a living faith, a living tradition, faith in action. And if we are truly living out our principles that we proclaim, then we would be observed being loving, justice-seeking, accepting, and abiding. These describe how we, as Unitarian Universalists, uniquely express our theologies, our faith, our commitment to building a beloved community. You see, for us, it is in the doing, the acting, the responding that makes us a faithful people. I am reminded of the covenant, love is the doctrine, the quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. In 1933, in the midst of the Depression and midway between the 2 great world wars, a book was published by a Boston press by Griswold Williams containing a compilation of 101 responsive readings, a resource to be used as material in church worship services. And tucked away in the back after the 101 readings and before the acknowledgments and the index was a single page which was titled, A Covenant. And these words were not necessarily a unique creation of Reverend Williams, but instead showed an evolution of religious language that was used by Unitarian and Universalist communities. You must admit, though, we UUs are an interesting bunch. A UU family moved into a neighborhood and their little girl finds a new playmate, and they are happily getting to know each other. And one day the playmate says, "We're Episcopalians, what are you?" And the UU child thinks for a minute and says, "I'm not sure, but I think we're League of Women's Voters." And what do you get when you cross a Unitarian Universalist with a Jehovah's Witness? Someone who goes door to door looking for a discussion. And take, for example, those 3 Unitarian Universalists who arrive at the pearly gates, much to their own surprise, and that of St. Peter, who upon checking his records realizes that these 3 people have led fully exemplary lives, but they aren't Christian, and heaven is only for Christians, and they shouldn't be up here in the first place. But it's a slow day, and St. Peter is in a good mood, so he offers them a deal. "I'm going to ask each of you a question," he says, "and if you answer correctly, I'll let you into heaven. But if you get it wrong, to hell with you." And they figure this is as good a deal as they're likely to get in, and so St. Peter asks the first one, "Explain the meaning of Easter." And the guy scratches at his head and he says, "Isn't that where there's a fat guy in a red suit with reindeer and you get presents?" St. Peter presses the red button and he goes to hell. So Peter asks the second Unitarian Universalist the same question, and she looks confused and then says, "I think it's when you have this bunny hopping around and hiding eggs under bushes," and St. Peter hits the red button and she's cast down to the place of eternal damnation. And the third Unitarian Universalist comes up and Peter asks him the same question. And he is prepared for this, however, because he took a comparative religious course through the congregation's religious education program at his church, and he knows his stuff. And he says, "Okay, Jesus was arrested in Gethsemane after Judas betrayed him. He was hauled before Pilate and sentenced to death. He was crucified on the Mount of Calvary and buried in a tomb with a rock at its entrance." And St. Peter was relaxing, and he's going to let someone in today, and he's already reaching for the green button. And then the Unitarian Universalist says, "And if he comes out and sees the shadow, there'll be 6 more weeks of winter, right?" Bam! St. Peter hits the red button, and the Unitarian Universalist goes to hell. We are an odd bunch, but let's return to that covenant. The covenant, it is a positive declaration about love, truth, and service, a nice antidote to the more cynical view of reality we cannot also help but carry these days. Our covenant calls us out to our better selves and our higher hopes, and it is potent too. My colleague, the Reverend Judith Mayer, tells us love is the doctrine of this church. It has various meanings. One is that we have no doctrine except for the love that we have to give. That is consistent with our tradition, which has always avoided dogmatic pronouncements and placed its faith in the human capacity of goodness. As a covenant, it also means that we commit ourselves to the work of building an institution, this congregation, on the value of love. We want our congregation to be an agency for the work of love in people's lives. The work of love also inspires acts of outreach, large and small. It challenges us to find new ways to live by this value. And then there's what love means to each of us as individuals. Some alone, even lonely, others well connected by family and friends. All of us needing a place that stands for hope and the promise of joy in the midst of heartache and peril, in the midst of the times that we are now living in. This congregation. This congregation exists as a living faith, a living reminder that such hope is real and human and life-saving, and that love is the strongest power there is. Love is why we are here. Love is why we will eventually return to this congregation. In these insecure times, we need it more than ever. And as Fred Wooden points out, we live in a nation making choice after choice based on fear. And I ask you, what else can we do but turn to the work of love? What else will calm our anxiety, tame our cynical tendencies, and guide us when we are lost? How else can we, how else can we live with this utter insecurity, the reality that we can never know enough to be sure of everything, except that love is our doctrine, and there are endless ways to live by it, and in that end, it is why we are here. Next, we have the quest for truth as our sacrament. But first, a question. Why did the Unitarian Universalists cross the road? And the answer is to support the chicken in its search for its own purpose, path, and meaning. So if you think about a sacrament as a rite, it is a religious act. Our act, our religious act, is seeking the truth. We seekers are on a quest to discover truth and meaning. And sometimes we think we found it wrapped up, glimmering with newness straight off the intellectual assembly line. All the answers right here for us and others, if the others would only listen. But truth has a way of coming in disguise, sometimes wearing rags and sometimes finery, but so often cloaked from our immediate sight. And sometimes that which we have rejected, that which we have let go of or decided was only for others, but not us, is truth. So let us, when we're together, let us acknowledge of the never-ending journey toward truth and meaning and our appreciation of those we learn from along the way. And finally, we have service is our prayer. Did you know that Unitarian Universalists begin their prayers with, "To whom it may concern"? And I have another question. Do Unitarian Universalists ever pray? And the answer is only when they think a Democrat is going to lose an election. The Reverend Peter Morales once wrote, "I have always been intrigued by the notion of service as prayer. When I was young, I was taught that prayer was words that express gratitude and contrition, always and lots of contrition, and requests for blessing, healing, wisdom, and strength. We prayed alone in silence and together out loud." He says, "Yet if prayer is the word we use to describe connecting to what is sacred, I think service may be the best form of prayer. And if the purpose of a spiritual practice is spiritual growth, service is a powerful spiritual discipline." We often hear in the UU world that thoughts and prayers do nothing, and we should help, we should do something, we should serve instead. And as Unitarian Universalists, we are called to active service and ministry in the world. We are like contemplatives in action, as St. Ignatius of Loyola, the founder of the Jesuits, described his companions. That means we find the sacred in the world, in all people, in all things, in all places, including our ministries. Because we are called to respond to the pressing needs in the world around us, we take individual understandings of the sacred with us in our service to others. Within our work of social action, environmental justice, racial justice, justice for people who are experiencing homelessness and the marginalized, and many other forms of our ministries, are some of the ways that our congregation is called to active service in the world, and it is our way of praying both communally and individually. Indeed, we Unitarian Universalists are a kooky bunch. For example, each religion has its own holy book. Judaism has the Torah, Islam has the Quran, Christianity has the Bible, and Unitarian Universalism has Robert's Rules of Order. We're even mocked on The Simpsons. On one episode, the Simpson family attends a church ice cream social where Lisa is impressed by the choice of ice cream available. Wow, she says, look at all these flavors. Blessed Virgin Berry, Command Mint, Bible Gum. Or, Reverend Lovejoy says, if you prefer, we also have Unitarian ice cream. And he hands Lisa an empty bowl. And Lisa says, hey, there's nothing in here. Exactly, says the Reverend Lovejoy. Our Unitarian Universalist congregations exist to transform the hearts and the souls of members who then work to transform the world. Our purpose is to help people live the lives of purpose and meaning, and to encourage one another to spiritual maturity. And as a minister, my wish for you and for Unitarian Universalism is that we commit ourselves to proving the punchlines wrong. We are not an empty cup. And may we create and celebrate even more reasons to be proud of this imperfect but extraordinary and ever-evolving faith. Love is the spirit of the UU life. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another, and to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve mankind in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony. May it be so. I'd like to thank everyone for their donations and their offerings that support this congregation in maintaining its ministries, its staff, and its work. If you'd like to make a donation, there will be directions in the comment section below the video you are watching. And if this is your first time, please know that after the sermon we offer a joke because laughter makes you more generous. So, a Jew, a Catholic, and a UU were discussing how their congregations take the collection. And the Jew said, we draw a circle on the ground and throw the money up into the air, and whatever falls inside the circle, we give to God. And the Catholic said, we draw a circle on the ground and we throw the money up into the air, and whatever falls outside the circle, we give to God. And the UU said, we just throw the money up into the air and figure that whatever God wants, he keeps.
When the rain is blowing in your face and the whole world is on your case, I could offer you a warm embrace to make you feel my love. When the evening shadows and the stars appear, The storms are raging on the rolling sea, and on the highway of regret, the winds of change are blowing wild and free. You ain't seen nothing like me yet. I can make you happy, make your dreams come true. You know there's nothing that I wouldn't do. Go to the ends of the earth for you, to make you feel my love. Come gather round, people, wherever you may roam. Admit that the waters around you have grown, and accept it that soon you'll be drenched to the bone. If your time to you is worth saving, then you better start swimming or you'll sink like a stone. For the times they are changing. Come writers and critics who prophesize with your pen, and keep your eyes wide, the chance won't come again. And don't speak too soon, for the wheel's still in spin. And there's no telling who that it's naming. For the loser now will be later to win. For the times they are changing. Come senators, congressmen, please heed the call. Don't stand in the doorway, don't block up the hall. For he that gets hurt will be he who has stalled. There's a battle outside and it's raging. It'll soon shake your windows and rattle your walls. For the times they are changing. Come mothers and fathers throughout the land, and don't criticize what you can't understand. Your sons and your daughters are beyond your command. The old road is rapidly aging. Please get out of the new one if you can't lend a hand. For the times they are changing. The line it is drawn, the curse is cast. The slower now will later be fast, as the present now will later be past. The order is rapidly fading, and the first one now will later be last. For the times they are changing.
May we see all as it is, and may it all be as we see it. May we be the ones to make it happen, to make it as it should be. For if not us, who? If not now, when? This is answering the cry of justice with the work of peace. This is redeeming the pain of history with the grace of wisdom. This is deeming this is the work we are called to do, and this is the call we answer now. To be the barrier and the bridge, to be the living embodiment of our principles, to be about the work of building the beloved community, to be the people of intention and a people of conscience. Blessed be.
When you're weary, feeling small, when tears are in your eyes, I will dry them all. I'm on your side. Oh, when times get rough and friends just can't be found, like a bridge over troubled water, I will lay me down like a bridge over troubled water. I will lay me down. When you're down and out, when you're on the streets, yeah. When evening falls so hard, I will comfort you. I'll take your part. Oh, when darkness comes and pain is all around, like a bridge over troubled water, I will lay me down like a bridge over troubled water. I will lay me down. Sail on, silver girl, sail on by. Your time has come to shine, and all your dreams are on their way. See how they shine. And if you need a friend, I'm sailing right behind, like a bridge over troubled water. I will ease your mind, like a bridge over troubled water. I will ease your mind. I will ease your
Before I extinguish the chalice, I'd like to thank Ed Elrod for providing us sound this morning, Regina Kilmartin for being our director and camera person, and of course Joseph for bringing music to our service this morning. And I'd like to thank you for joining us. So please join in the words that are printed in your order of service as I extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world.